Nicole, what does this award mean for you?
Well, this award is pretty amazing to begin with, but then at the same time, it's surreal because it all happened with like this time of voting from Malaysia and like the squash community all coming in to vote for me, and it was such a build up that when it actually did happen and we crossed the finish line, it was like, woo! It was overwhelming, and it just went all over Malaysia, the news, and I even my parents were going, wow, I couldn't keep up with people thanking them, and it's truly special. It was a great moment for me, and I feel really, really thrilled with all these accolades coming through.
How did it even start though? Because we heard about it, we saw it in the news, and then while Nicol David, world's greatest, potentially could be number one and everything. How do you get nominated for something like that?
So the World Squash Federation and all the associations of different sports, the World Federation, like associations of every sport, has to nominate an athlete. So the World Squash Federation actually put my name in, and then the other sports will have their own nominations from their own respective association. So that's how it starts, and I think the world World Games actually will have send this out saying, okay, do this, send your nomination in, and then we see how it goes. So then from then on, I didn't even realize until it came out on their webpage that I was nominated. So I was quite thrilled. And then before you know it, when the vote started kicking in, it was like WhatsApp's going on from my end, my family, my friends, everybody like, send to everyone and make sure they vote, and it just kept going around. So it was quite cool to see.
That's so awesome. Now, what's even more awesome and so brilliant is that you won by more than 200,000 votes against your closest competitor. I mean, that's nuts. What do you have to say to your fans worldwide about that?
Wow, all thanks to everyone who have voted for me, have come in. Some of them wrote to me saying that I voted for you every day to make sure you win this thing. So it was, and my parents and my family, my friends, they were all saying, oh, we are going to keep updated every day. And I didn't even know how much votes I had and how many votes I had until each day I get updated. Oh, you're this much now. You're still in the lead. It's like, oh, thank you. Gosh. And it kept growing and growing to the point that I was like, I didn't think it was possible, but it was huge. And still pretty stunned.
It's like a nail-biting sport in itself, watching the votes coming in. It's sort of like, this sort of things keep going like that. Yeah.
Yeah.
So let's take a little look back at your unbelievable career. You put Malaysia on the map with 81 professional titles, 8 world titles, 9 years at number one, the number one squash player in the world. How does someone achieve all of that? And what do you eat for breakfast?
I eat a lot for breakfast. But
we'll get back to that in a minute.
Yeah. I think it was all I was just so into the fact that I wanted to see how far I can go. So every time I kept wanting to push that barrier a little bit more, seeing what areas I can improve, and it started when I was a kid. I just wanted to see myself getting stronger, and now I'm beating my sisters. I want to get better. And it was just those stepping stones that you motivate yourself to push that next step. And then I started winning tournaments, and before you know it, you just have that. Well, I'm really competitive as well, so I wanted to compete with myself to see how far I would go. And before you know it, all these things just come in. They at every step of the way, and I've achieved what I've achieved, but I didn't realize it until I retired. And then I look back and I go, wow, I'm truly proud of my squash journey. And I have to say, this has been an amazing experience for me.
Because while you were doing it, it's like, it's just a job in a way, right?
In some ways, you're in it, so you don't actually think about it. So you are engrossed, and you're like, I want to improve better. And then you gain the next win, and then you go, okay, I have to prepare for the next one. So I was in it, but but it was, yeah, you don't recognize what's happening until it's done, and that's when I truly could appreciate all those wins and all those world title wins. And at the time, I did appreciate it, but maybe I didn't savor those moments enough.
Because you would
maybe
on
if
to
I
the
go back,
next
I would
thing.
Yeah.
yeah.
So I was just wondering whether or not this could be true, that for other people who, aren't even sports people, but something we could all do is sort of like have that single-minded focus on just the next goal in front of us without thinking about anything else. Do you think that that's something that could help us mere mortals in terms of sort of upskilling or getting better at what we're doing, or even achieving what we want to, is just to have that marker in front of us, right? I'm going for that one, and I'm going to go all out for that one, and then move on to the next one after that.
Well, you hit the nail on the head. Like, really, everyone has that ability to do it. It's just whether they actually believe that they have it in them to do it is the other thing. And like people say, like, oh, you have this. What is that mindset you go into? I said, no, it's just everyone has a strong mind, and if you put the practice into play, like just being maybe a bit more disciplined in your routines, in what you're going for, taking those steps, like making that first step. I want to work hard towards that, make those a few small goals to reach that step, and then when you get there, you go to the next one. Not make it such a big task and not have a plan, and then it becomes overwhelming. You go like, I'll stop.
Baby steps, right?
I think what you said is true. Yeah, baby steps, and then you will falter along the way. I've had almost a lot of different failures in the process of getting to world number one or trying to get better when I was a kid. But you have to go through those moments to then go, right, I'm strong enough to get through this. Take those steps and be patient. I think patience is underestimated. We have to bring that in some ways, and I think the MCO has done that to a lot of us.
Yeah, actually, you know what? I think a lot of people don't realize is that you being the greatest is not about a lot of the things that you've done and won, but also because you have failed and you picked yourself up and then you climbed up again, right?
You didn't stop. And I think that's brilliant. And I can't wait for my son to see this video, actually, because I think, it's important, to sort of, I have failed. I kept going.
Yeah.
Yeah.
But you know what?
You don't stop there. You don't sell yourself short.
Yeah.
There's also one thing that a lot of people don't realize about you is that if squash wasn't the thing that you were going to be doing, you're going to be doing other things and you were going to be great at it because you're really good at studies as well.
Well, when I was younger, but hopefully it translates in other things.
Yeah, because I want people to know that it shouldn't
was
just be about that, because school is important to you.
Yeah, it was. And I think squash helped me a lot in the sense of focus and the discipline and the time management that I could put into my studies. Because if I didn't play sport, I would just been quite lazy and just think, I can study the next thing. But what sport taught me is to know that I only had this much time. I better make the most of it. And so I had to force myself to study well, and then I can perform. So, and it applies to everything. So I believe that if kids start being active or playing sport growing up in their school, it really helps them being active in their mind to then have a better sense of focus in their studies, and also have those sense of values that they come forth them through sport that will that they can develop in their school, and being respectful to people, all that sort of things that come into play in their lives.
Gamesmanship of some sort.
Yeah.
Oh,
yeah,
gameswomanship.
exactly.
Sorry, should I say? Right.
Today,
Today you're helping inspire women throughout the world. What changes do you hope to see in the next 5 years for women?
Well, in Malaysia or in general?
I think in general,
more
because
in Malaysia.
But I think in general, because I think everything's relevant to, it's all relevant to everybody. So yeah, in general.
Yeah, true. Well, I think as a female athlete, I see a lot more from a sports point of view, that having female role models have been a great inspiration for many, not just for athletes alone, but for girls aspiring to do great things. And I feel that, I hope that I can be in that position to do that in the future and in Malaysia. And I've seen also the sport has grown. I mean, squash and also Malaysian sport, that we see more girls' participation in sport and seeing that they can do something for themselves. And that's on just a one side, but no doubt it can connect to so many other ways. And I want to see more women in leadership positions in the sports industry, not just playing sport, but in all different positions, whether they are coaches, whether they are mentors, all these areas that women have the capability to shine and be great ambassadors to show that other girls can do that as well. You got Kamala Harris being vice president of the US. I think that's like a really statement then to have more women to aspire to be great.
I think it's brilliant. I mean, squash was never on my radar until you popped into the radar with it. And suddenly I was like, I knew about squash. So yeah, thanks for that. You inspired me. All right. You've retired from active competition, right? Having retired from active competition. For you personally, what's been your biggest accomplishment for you personally?
My biggest accomplishment after retirement is that I first made it through my squash career. So like no serious injuries. So my whole career I didn't have any serious injuries, just minor niggles. So that's actually a huge accomplishment for me after my retirement. And then at the same time, I was able to run a squash event in Malaysia with my team, and it's something to bring the top female squash players over to showcase top women's squash in Malaysia, and to then bring all like about 130 kids all around Malaysia to watch them play and then be on court having clinics with them and myself as well. And so I think that event was quite a special one because it was my first time running something like that, and I want to do more of those coming up. Obviously, the pandemic was not going to happen.
Yes,
I was not helpful. But and also I did. One of my big accomplishments would be to just have more speaking engagements with people to the community in Malaysia and to corporates, just to share my experience and also my story, that hopefully I can inspire them in some way.
Oh, that's brilliant.
Actually, you know what? Talking about retirement, right? When you actually announced it, how tough was that?
It was actually, I was prepared to announce it, because I had already like 2 years of building up towards that moment, or a year and a half building up towards that moment, going through the emotions of knowing that this is my final 2 years of my squash. So knowing that I need to let go, those things were very hard. Like, squash has been part of my life all my life, and that's all I knew. But what do I do next? How am I going to live that next phase of my life? So it was a very thing I needed to. I was very emotional. I had some moments of really very sad moments. I was depressed at times as well, which really hit me hard. But then in all those things, there's an underlying feel that there's a light at the end of the tunnel, and that it's time to let go to do something so much brighter there. And I was so ready to announce the retirement and to end those last few months with my squash and enjoy it, to then be ready for the next phase, to take on that giving back, going out there to tell my story and to reach out to people who wants to know more, that I can inspire or aspire others in some way.
What's one thing that you took up or started doing after you retired from squash? So, if you were in the squash career, there was no time really for anything else and extra. So what sort of hobby or something fun have you taken up whilst in retirement?
Actually, I forgot that one big accomplishment and one thing that I picked up was studying. I started studying online and I did a specialization in positive psychology, and I managed to finish my specialization. So I was very happy
Wow.
that I could get through it. And I never done an online course, so it was like all new. Thinking like I have to write these things, and people are going to review it, and I'm like, oh. But it was a great experience for me. I learned so much, and also understand. I've always been keen about psychology and the positive, like being the positive psychology behind it, what I've done before, and how everybody can do it. Really, like it's really part of a daily practice, basically.
Congratulations on that. That's so
Thank
awesome.
you.
Yeah, I can see from your face.
Thank you.
It's
Thank you.
always nice when you see someone who's proud of themselves,
Mm.
because we should all be proud of ourselves
Yeah.
about things, right? And yeah, to
Yeah.
say I did that, I'm sure it's yeah,
I was like,
I can see that.
yeah, I'm very proud. I'm really happy.
That's awesome. That's so good to see. So
Thank
what are your
you.
hopes? What are your hopes for the world of squash, and what is the cause you're championing, and how are you championing it?
Well, for the world of squash, I think there's so much going on in the professional side. So on that front, like I don't have much say in that, but I can only say like they are doing a great job in that. Even though with the times currently with the pandemic, it's been difficult, but we hope that they are gonna keep on, pushing through and having tournaments coming up soon. But for me, I think the big thing for me is to put my foundation together. I'm in the process of the registration, and there are a few more steps to go before everything can be launched. But it's very exciting to have this foundation to empower girls and boys through the values of sport, and using squash as the sport to show that I got so much from my squash career, and I want to give that squash knowledge, and also teaching them like healthy habits, like being active with learning how to respect one another, girls and boys, just really working together as
Yeah,
one, because they are the generation in our future
yeah.
to be good people. Basically, I want them to be good people. That's
Learn
really
how
the
to do
basis
that.
of
Yeah,
the
yeah, I love that.
yeah.
I
Oh,
think
yeah.
I'm just wondering what when you actually do finally come back, whether you could do sort of like a middle-aged woman's beginners
Oh
class
God.
clinic for us
Ah,
who's
really?
always, because the thing is, like, the only people I know who play squash are boys, is Non and everybody else, and they all play squash and
Yeah.
they're boys, and going onto the courts with them, it can be very intimidating because the ball moves damn fast. Let me just say, okay. So I don't know, yeah, clinic for
Yeah, I
middle-aged women
understand.
to feel powerful in their body, I think would be great. But okay,
Yeah, I
last
think
carry on.
I think through the foundation we want to also encourage like maybe workshops or something that will involve, like I like to channel maybe like some parents that want to be involved and have some lessons too. We have some women lessons, and so we're gonna break it out. So I'm
Yes,
sure like
yes.
we'll have them
So there.
around for you guys to join.
Actually, you know what? Also, are you still gonna push for squash to be in the Olympics? Is that still on your agenda?
For me, it's not part of the agenda, as I'm sure the World Squash Federation and like the Professional Squash Association are going to be doing campaignings towards the next one, which is actually 2028
Mm.
in LA, because I think we've already missed out in 2024 in Paris. So it will be another ongoing campaign. So if that time comes, I'll support it in any way I can, but it's not the motivation, because I
Mm.
think priorities have changed. The Olympic Committee has changed their kind of vision of what sports could come in. They are more looking at how they're going to appeal to the youth and wanting to capture their attention through like those like extreme sports or something that excites them. And maybe they see that we it's just different for them.
Mm.
But squash has everything. It's just that they want to see that what has more commercial value for them that they can grab on to, instead of seeing that actually squash can bring that forward so much more for the Olympic Games.
Yeah,
Squash is an extreme sport in my mind.
Yeah.
Do, do, do.
No, because I'm just thinking, right? Because
That's what I
badminton is
feel
an
too.
Olympic sport, and it was and
Yeah.
also there's Zhong Wei, right? But then Zhong Wei wasn't the world's greatest athlete. You know what I'm saying?
Exactly. Yeah.
You know,
cash in on that crown, baby. All right. Last question.
I'll take it.
Last question here. With the lockdown and not being able to come back to Malaysia for a Chinese New Year, how are you going to be celebrating in Colombia?
Well, over I think also with rice and chicken and something. I don't know.
Do they have lion dances there?
Not that I know of, but I have to look out for them. Maybe some fireworks, but no, I think it'll be quite simple, but I'll wait for when I come back. I'm hoping to come back next month. So maybe a delayed Chinese New Year get together with my family would be nice.
Oh, that's amazing. Thank you so much
Brilliant.
for this time.
Okay.
So lovely to speak to you.
Thank you so much.
Any final words
Nice
to
to speak
Malaysians?
to you guys too. Well, to all the Malaysians out there who have just been an absolutely amazing crew for looking out for me, cheering out for me, and voting for me throughout this whole time. Thank you so much for your support, and I really appreciate everything that you have done for me, and I couldn't have done it without you guys.